Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I'm excited to have you all here. We are going to be just keep signing in for the next minute as I talk. We'll keep record of what's happening here. At the last call, we had people from the Philippines, Azerbaijan, New Guinea, Russia, India, New Zealand, Malaysia, the Czech Republic, Bangladesh, Brazil, Belgium, all of the Nordic countries, Saudi Arabia, Algeria. It's really exciting to know the people all over the world are joining us to get this. So keep typing in where you're from. And I want to talk just a little bit about what we're going to do today. If you were on the first call, and we'll do a little poll in a few minutes to find out who was on that call. I'm back with you. So basically, what am I doing here? I want to see if this moves forward. Yeah. So we're welcoming all of you. We're going to do the same process we did the first time. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the reactions that occurred the first time we did this on Monday. Some of you are joining us for the first time, so welcome. Some of the things that came up in the chat, both on this broadcast as well as in the Facebook group. I want to speak to that. I think it'll help give you some clarity how to get the most value out of today. I'm going to be talking at the end of this training, just give you a little more information about how you can go deeper with this work if you want. So stay tuned for that. We want to make sure you get the most value out of what's beginning to show up in your life right now. So basically, I would say that when you work today with me, if you are on the first call, you may want to pick a different area of your life where you feel stuck, or some place where you feel like you're not able to manifest your vision or your goal, whatever that might be. And over the course of the 3 calls, we can hopefully unblock 3 different limiting beliefs you have that are stopping you from achieving all that you want. As you know, we work with 7 different areas of your life, and there's an opportunity to free up some energy and create more of what you want in 3 of those areas. I have some suggestions about how to get the most value out of this training. So again, please have a pen handy and be sure to download and print your break-free PDF training guide. You can do that at jackcanfield.com handout if you don't already have it, because you'll want to be capturing what you experienced today. The mere act of writing it down, actually it contributes to the power of the release, the healing that can occur. And so make sure you have that removing blocks worksheet. It'll be found on page, I think this one is on page 11, which is the second session we're doing. And the link to the guide is in the chat if you still need it. Someone from my team will post that there, but you can just go to jackcanfield.com//handout. Training will run about 75 minutes. Basically, you should stay on to the end if you can, and at least until the end of the process. After the call, you will receive a replay link sometime within the next 24 hours. We had about 2,800 people on the first training we did on Monday, and we had about 3,200 people do the replay. That was after the first day, so there may be a lot more that have done it. I haven't checked the numbers yet, so the replay will be available. You can continue to do this process over and over with different places of your life, different places you might be stuck. And as you know, if you were on the first call, if you're new, this is a guided visualization process. It's going to require your full attention, so please don't try to multitask when you're doing this. And if you can be in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed or distracted, turn off your phone if you can, turn off the buzzers and bells that ring on your laptop or your phone that let you know there's incoming email and so forth. And please stay till the end, get the most value, because I'm going to share today with you some extra tools about, now that you're beginning to see these blocks and release them, how do you take that next step forward for yourself. We have in the handout, if you've seen it, if you haven't filled it out yet, I encourage you to do it after today, the handout that talks about setting goals in the 7 areas of your life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that goal setting and making sure you're doing that correctly in some ways to make sure you actually achieve those goals. And also, please, Do not try to do this if you're guiding, if you're driving a car or you're operating machinery. Even if your eyes are open, it can put you into a deep, relaxed state, which is not what you want to be into when you're driving your car. And we don't want you distracted. I asked you on the first call how many had read the Success Principles. About 2/3 of you had, a third hadn't. I really recommend getting a copy of that book and reading it. It'll help you integrate what you're learning today. It's really some people call it the Think and Grow Rich of the 20th century. It will really help you integrate all of what you're learning. There are 67 principles of success, 25 of which are critical, 10 of which are the core essence of this work. And I'd like you to have that. This is part of a total system. We're going to do a couple polls today. You'll see something come up on your screen like this, where you just go over, and however your answer, you'll just check one or more of the little circles, and then we'll see in real time within like a minute the answer to that poll, which will help me know who I'm talking to and what to focus on the most. And also, so the first poll is going to come up, and we really want you to answer the question: did you attend the first session live or listen to the replay? And I can just get a sense of how many people are returning and how many people are new. Very good. Just keep populating that. A yes or no question. Great. We now have like over 1,000 people on the call. Welcome. So it looks like the majority of you are on the call. Great. For those of you that are new, I'm going to explain exactly what we're doing, so you needn't worry about it. So I'm going to end the poll now. And so go ahead and if you haven't checked it, see, launch the poll. We did that. So we'll stop sharing it. And we see that 80% of you are on that call, 20% weren't. So again, welcome if you are just here for the first time. And thank you for answering that. It helps me. All right. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to close the poll out here. Okay. So I want to just share with you, those of you that are here for the first time, and also those of you who were there before, some of the results that we got that were posted in the chat, either on Facebook or in our chat group here. A lot of positive effects. Even though I've done this sort of work many times over the years, this is one of the best. So many breakthroughs that keep coming. Wow, today's session helped me to identify and begin working through a serious blocking issue of my childhood. Powerful. It was an amazing experience. I'm kind of speechless at the moment. Today's webinar was so therapeutic. I did the replay and the pain on my tennis elbow just disappeared in minutes. So amazing. I duplicated that again. It says I'm a hypnotherapist, and I do this similar process with all my clients. However, I don't always take the time to do it for myself. And all I can say is, wow, uncovered a huge block. And the first session of training was amazing. And we just got that over and over. Someone put a meme, yeah, I love this, in the Facebook post, is how I felt during break-free exercise when my 85-year-old self was setting me straight. Part of the process is getting wisdom from this 85-year-old involved part of yourself. And some of the things you all shared were just such powerful wisdom, the kind of things you'd read in books by highly conscious people, but they were coming from your own inner wisdom. And that's what's so powerful about this process, is that when it comes from inside your own wisdom that you have access to at all times, it's much more powerful than just reading it or hearing it from someone else. So anyway, thank you, whoever posted that. Thank you very much. I have a few thoughts I want to share with you about the call. And I'm just going to go over here and look at those real quick, make sure I get them. Before I do that, let's do a second poll, which is, I want the second poll is, for those of you who were on the first call, I'm going to ask you to vote on a scale of 1 to 5. How valuable was that call for you? I experienced a meaningful breakthrough. It would be 5. It was a positive experience, leaving me feeling lighter. 4, I have more clarity, but I have more work to release there. Experienced feelings, but maybe I didn't have a breakthrough, didn't get in touch with anything else, or I fell asleep. That sometimes happens. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's what I want to share in the thoughts. All right, good. Great. Number 3, which is trending up there. I'll talk about that for a minute. Often there's an integration period that happens with this work. And so I'll talk about that a little bit today and give you some tools to keep integrating that. And Good, 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 good. All right, I'll stop the poll here. And that's the results. So we'll talk about a little more about how to get more value out of this in case you didn't get stuck. And I want to talk too about how people, if they get, several people fell asleep, 7% of the people, or didn't get anything. That's not uncommon. Usually about, I would say 95% of the people have a really powerful experience. And if you fell asleep, one of two things is possible. Number one, you needed more sleep. Some of you are calling in, from India and, other places around the world where it was in the middle of the night. So when we close our eyes, falling asleep is possible. Another thing that's possible is there's something there that is some part of you is kind of resisting wanting to look at, or the ego is often wanting to keep us stuck, and it thinks it's protecting us by keeping us stuck, like we're not going to get rejected again, we're not going to feel negative feelings again, whatever it might be. But it's really a part of you that's protecting you, that's not really part of your I don't know what you'd call it, your highest interest. So often when people do this experience the second or third time, things really come through that didn't come through the first time. Often you go deeper. Also, some of you wrote about how you found that you were, should I say, let me say my words, that you got something, but you didn't get a visual image exactly. And some of you are what are called eidetic visualizers. You visualize very quickly and easily. Some of you are more kinesthetic or auditory. So sometimes there may be a memory, but you don't really see anything, but there's kind of a thought that comes up, and that's adequate for this process to work. Sometimes, I think some of you, I said most of the limiting beliefs happen between the age of 3 and 8. And a lot of times what happens is people only go back to like maybe 24 or 20 or 15 or even 10 years ago. And they feel like somehow they failed. Not at all. Sometimes things happen to us that are very strong emotional experiences that can happen in adulthood, can happen in your 20s, whatever, and that's the event. So don't worry about like you didn't go back far enough. Just go with whatever shows up. And one of the things that happens too, several of you talked about emotions coming up, and that's common and that's normal. I mentioned that what's coming up is coming out. So all you have to do is just observe it and not try to what's the word I want, do anything more than just experience the feeling and just observe that it's happening, observe any feelings that might be associated, any images that come up with it, just notice it. Awareness alone, it starts to create the healing and the releasing. And so don't resist any feelings that are coming up. One person wrote in the chat that while they had their eyes closed during the exercise, someone came into their kitchen and started peeling onions, which is their way of saying they started to cry. So that will happen for some of you, and don't let that bother you. Sometimes you feel anger about what happened in the past, or resignation might come up. Whatever it is, just notice it, be aware of it, and don't worry about feeling it. It's just fine, not to worry. It's okay. Couple other thoughts that I wanted to share with you. Let me find my notes on this because I did want to make sure that everybody heard this stuff. If I can find it really quickly. I may not have printed it out correctly. Anyway, the thing I would share with you is one person, I did find it. One person said, I didn't have anything happen the first time. And so I'm coming back again, but I'm not very hopeful. And I want to share with you, your intention and your feelings will affect the outcome. So if you're coming in and you're not very hopeful, what'll happen is you probably won't have the experience you want. So even though you might not have had a successful experience the first time, you want to be hopeful, be expecting the positive. I was just watching a video of someone who's a very high conscious being, but has also studied physics and all the hard physics as well as the metaphysics of this work. And they were sharing that literally we're not observers of the universe, we are participators. And how you come to something with your expectation actually affects how something happens in the physical world. So what you expect, you're more likely to get. This is why we always have people visualizing the positive outcomes they want, having positive thoughts about it, thinking positively about it. And so that expectation is an important thing to do. Let's see. Another thing that came up, someone said, I went in wanting to remove a block to finances. I'm not making as much money as I want. And what happened was I went back to an event that was about a relationship with my mom. Someone else went back to a relationship with their brother. Someone else went back to a relationship with their sister, with their father, whatever. And it's very common that when you start with something like your experience has to do what you want is in the area of finance, and you end up with a relationship memory, because those relationships and the decisions we made in those moments that are still unconscious and running us can be affecting other areas of our life. So don't resist that. Whatever shows up is the right thing. Allow that to be the thing you focus on in the process. Some people mentioned they were yawning a lot. Yawning is a way of releasing stress. So if something's coming out and releasing, you'll often find that you're yawning. And what else here? Someone mentioned, and this is true, the more hydrated you are, the actual easier it is for your brain to work. So if you can grab a glass of water real quick before we start, that's a good thing to do. And make sure you write down what comes up on the form. And if you're confused at the end or still feeling a little, feeling strongly, etc., we'll talk about using tapping to remove that and get rid of those negative feelings that might be there. What else before we start? Let's go to the next slide here. Oops. I want to not do that. Okay. So as I mentioned, why we get stuck is fear, limiting beliefs, and not knowing what to do. So all of our fears actually come out of limiting beliefs, and that come from past events. And they're really strong, these triggers that we get and these limiting beliefs, because whenever you have an event and you get a thought that comes out of that event, a decision, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not lovable, I can't make money, it's not okay to ask for what I want, I'm not going to get it anyway, why waste my time? All of those beliefs and decisions are happening at a time of strong emotional feeling. And we know that whenever you're feeling something really strong, you're secreting more proteins in the brain. And what happens, those proteins grow, the neurons have little things at the end of the neuron called dendrite spiny protuberances. I know this is a little science, but I want you to get the power of this. When you have a strong emotional feeling during an event, your brain will lock into that event more strongly than if it was a neutral event. And so it comes up quicker. We often remember all the bad things that happened to us, maybe when we were in high school, and very few of the positive things, because the positive things don't have that same expression of all these proteins that then grow these dendrites thicker. It's like becoming a thicker tube the water could go down. If you've ever gone bowling and you throw the bowling ball and it goes into a gutter, it never comes out again. So you're forming gutters in your brain by thinking thoughts over and over and over. And if there's a strong feeling associated with it, it really makes it hard to overcome. That's why when the feelings come up again, if they do, it's actually a good thing, because we're creating a new decision today, a new belief that's going to take you to where you want to go. So it's a much more powerful process. So don't resist the feelings. And the third thing is not knowing what to do. You're just ignorant about how to develop an online course, or how to write a book, or how to start a company, or how to become a great artist, whatever. And that's where this goal setting stuff will come in, and some of the principles of success. So we'll talk about that toward the end of the call. So today, if you filled in your wheel of life, you notice there were areas where you were strong, areas where you're weak. Pick a different area, I would suggest, than the one you worked on during the first call. If you're here for the first time, pick an area where you don't feel like you're performing as well, like, maybe work and career. We saw the biggest issue most people were having was in the world of finances, not making as much money or feeling as stable financially as they would like. So pick another topic, or if you're here for the first time, somewhere where you feel stuck or you feel like you can't create what you want in your life. And we're going to do the process now. And what I want to do is explain it very quickly for those who are here for the first time, which is, several hundred people. And what we're going to do in a moment, I'll ask you to close your eyes. I'll ask you to focus on this area of your life or this certain thing you're trying to create that you're not able to create, or an area of your life where you feel stuck. And then I'll ask you to scan your body from your head to your toes and notice where in your body do you feel the greatest amount of either discomfort or pain or tension or numbness. And, sometimes if you just close your eyes, you can feel immediately it's in your lower back, or it's in your shoulders, or there's a band across your head, or a ball in your stomach, or, tightness across your legs, whatever it might be. And then just, focus on that. And I'm going to ask you some questions at that point to heighten your awareness of that pain, tension, numbness, whatever it is. How wide is it? How thick is it? What color is it? What shape is it? Is it wet or dry, hot or cold, etc.? All that just to heighten your awareness of it, because we tend to not pay attention to what we're feeling, not pay attention. We want to kind of get away from the discomfort when the discomfort is actually a pathway back to the healing that will release that discomfort. And then I will ask you to imagine there's a feeling that's kind of trapped inside this shape. What is that? And then I'll ask you to ride that feeling back to the earliest time you can remember feeling that same physical sensation you're feeling in your body, and that same feeling that you might feel is trapped in that. And then most of you will go back to somewhere in childhood. As I mentioned, some of you will go back to maybe teenage years, early 20s, or even more recently. Just end up where you end up. Some of you will see it. Some of you, it'll just be a memory or a thought. That's fine. And then allow yourself to just be there. I'll ask you some questions like, how old are you? Where are you? Are there other people present? What's happening? Are you getting what you want? Is something happening to you don't want? And then I'll ask you what decision you might have made in that moment of time about yourself, about your worth, about some aspect of life, about asking for what you want, being sexy, being, having needs, whatever it might be. There's just a lot of limiting beliefs that come out of that. And then I'll ask you to, being the age you are now, whatever age that is, to go back with the wisdom you now have as an adult and counsel that inner child. What advice could you give them? Could you help them see that this wasn't their fault? The parents might have done that to anybody, not just to them. One of the people wrote in the chat this last time that they had been sexually assaulted as a child, and they realized it wasn't their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. That person would have attacked any child at that point. And so I know my wife, when her father committed suicide when she was 8, for years thought if I'd done something different, Daddy wouldn't have killed himself. And now she's realizing, realized several years ago through therapy, that there was nothing she could have done. Her dad was depressed and suicidal, and it wasn't her fault. But children often think it's my fault. It's what we call magical thinking. I had a client once who's went to bed one night really mad at her grandmother, wishing she would die. And then her grandmother died that night because she was just old and had an organ malfunction. And for years, she felt bad that she killed her grandmother. And that's what we think about magical thinking as a child. So again, we want you not to be taking responsibility for what you don't need to take responsibility for. And then I'll ask you, what helped you, this inner child, see, is there some gift that came from this? Maybe you became a coach because you don't want other people to suffer the way you did. Maybe you wrote a book about it. Maybe you got into nursing to help people not experience physical pain. So there's some gift that came from that. What qualities did you have to develop? For me, when I realized I wasn't going to get what I needed from my parent, in addition to feeling I was unworthy of love, which was not true, it's just that they were unworthy, unable to give me love. But children usually decide it's my fault. But I developed a tremendous amount of resilience, a tremendous amount of initiation. My dad said when I went to college, if you need a helping hand, look at your own arm, meaning don't ask me for money. And I did become very self-reliant. But at the same time, I stopped asking for what I needed. I didn't reach out for support, so that there was a cost, but there was also a gift. So see if there's a gift in there. And then I'll ask you to help the child make a new decision. What would be a more empowering decision than the one they made? A new belief you could take on. And then I'll ask you to forgive anyone that you need to forgive, maybe your parents and someone at school, a brother or a sister, a grandmother, a coach, whatever. And because forgiving them is such a critical part of letting go. You're not condoning them, you're not promoting what they did, but you're allowing yourself to cut the cord and let go of holding on to this anger, this resentment, or even guilt, whatever it might be. So we'll do that. Then I'm going to ask you to go into the future, become your 85-year-old wise, enlightened self. And what that does, that just helps you connect with the inner wisdom that already exists in your consciousness. And what advice would you give you sitting in the chair at the age you are now, so that you could avoid, being impacted in any way by this presenting issue? What advice would you have for the person, just, about how to make more money, how to have better relationships, whatever it is that the presenting issue was, or anything about the limiting belief? Some of the things you guys shared in the chats, both on Facebook and here, were profound. I mean, the kind of things that enlightened beings, gurus, spiritual avatars would say, and that's all available inside you. And so it's really very healing. So, and that's what we'll do. Then we'll come back to the present moment. I'll ask you to think about where that pain or tension was. Usually it's either gone or very reduced, which means that major breakthrough is happening in that arena. And then I'll ask you to open your eyes and write for about 7, 8, 9 minutes about what you got in touch with. And then I'll ask you to do a little sharing in the chat, and I'll give you some instruction on goal setting and goal achievement. And then we'll basically be done. So that's where we're headed. So what I'd like you to do now is simply to close your eyes, and to, if you're in a chair, sit in a comfortable position, but sit up straight so your spine is more straight. If you're lying on a bed, make sure you're awake enough that you're not going to fall asleep. I would encourage you to sit up otherwise. And just close your eyes, and we'll just take a moment to do a little relaxation. So focus on your breathing right now. Just be aware of inhaling. And I would make your inhale usually about the count of 6. It might feel something like this. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And exhaling fully 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just continuing a long, slow, deep breath, breathing down into your stomach and up fully into your chest. A full relaxing breath, and then exhaling fully. We'll just do that for a few seconds here. And as you exhale, just imagine any tension, any distractions, any concerns, any worries, just being exhaled out through your nose or your mouth like a gray mist. With each breath, breathing in awakeness, awareness, aliveness, clarity. Exhaling any tension, any pain, any distractions, any negativity. I'm going to take my picture off the screen. I've not disappeared, just so I won't be distracting you if you do open your eyes, which I recommend you not. Keep your eyes closed. And as you continue this deep relaxation breathing, allow yourself to become aware of the muscles in your face. Relax the muscles around your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw, your mouth. Become aware of the muscles in your neck. And if there's any tension there, just imagine as you're breathing out, imagine your neck relaxing, letting go of that. Become aware of your shoulders and allow them to drop if they're being held up. Just relaxing your shoulders. And with each breath you take, you become more and more relaxed. Then become aware of the muscles in your upper back. Just letting go. Muscles in your chest. As you exhale, relaxing. Come aware of the muscles in your stomach and your lower back. Letting go, letting the chair or the bed or the ground hold you up. Letting go of any tension in your right arm, your hand, your left arm and hand, your buttocks, your butt. Just letting go of any tension. Your right thigh from your butt down to your right knee. Becoming aware of your left thigh from your buttock down to your knee. Letting go of any tension. Every muscle becoming more and more relaxed. Focusing on your right knee down to your right ankle. Letting your legs be relaxed. Your right foot. Become aware of your left thigh and from your ankle, from your knee down to your ankle, your left calf muscle. Just relaxing. And finally, your left foot. And now become aware of an area of your life where you feel stuck. Some place where you're trying to create something, you can't seem to be able to create it. And when you think about this area of your life where you're stuck or unable to create what you want, notice how you feel about that. Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it fear? Never being able to? Sadness? What's the feeling that you have when you think about not being able to create what you want? Just be aware of it. And just feel that feeling. And then become aware of your body and notice as you think about not being able to create what you want, or this area of your life that you're not able to create what you want, as you think about that, where in your body do you notice the most tension, anger? Might be a feeling of like tightness, could be a feeling of pain, could be a feeling of numbness. But what sensation in your body stands out? What's foreground above everything else? What do you notice? Where is it? And as you continue to become aware of that and focus on it, begin to become aware of what shape is it? Does it feel more oblong or square or round, or is it thin? Is it thick? Is it more like an octopus with legs coming out of it, tentacles? And in terms of inches or centimeters, how wide is it from right to left? How thick is it from top to bottom? How thick is it from front to back? And does this sensation feel more solid or more hollow? Does it feel warmer, colder, or the same temperature as the area of your body around it? Does the surface of this feel more rough or more smooth? Does it feel more wet or more dry? What color does it feel like it is or appear to be? And then let yourself feel any emotions that might be present inside that sensation, inside that shape. Just notice what that is or might be. And now let yourself go back to the earliest time you can remember feeling the same sensation and the same feeling. And just notice what comes into your consciousness. And when you're there, just notice, where are you? Are you inside, outside, at home, at school, somewhere else? And how old are you? How old do you feel you are? Are you alone or with other people? And what's happening? Is there something you want that you're not getting, like attention or love? Or is there something you don't want that's happening, like being punished or ignored, made fun of, shamed, laughed at? And as a result of what's happening, is there a limiting decision you made or a limiting belief about yourself or about life that you took on at that time? Now, imagine that you can go back in time and space from where you are now, as the adult you are now, with what you know now, and you could coach your younger self. What would you tell yourself in terms of your worth, what new understandings or interpretations you could give yourself about this event, what strengths or qualities you might have developed from this experience, or perhaps the perception, the perfection that you might have experienced in your life as a result of this experience? Something where you developed a new quality or took on a cause or found your life purpose, whatever that might be. Go ahead and share those words with this younger self. And then take a moment and help this younger you make a new decision or come up with a new belief that would be a more powerful or empowering belief than the one that they've been living with up until now as a result of that decision they made. See what that would be. Share that with them. And now you can ask your younger you if there's anything they need from you, maybe a hug or some loving words or protection, whatever it might be. Let them ask you for that. If they do, go ahead and deliver it. If you're talking to you as a young child, you may want to ask them to sit in your lap and hold them for a few seconds. Let them know they're totally nurtured, loved, protected by you. And now become aware if there's anyone you need to forgive. Could have been a parent, a grandparent, an uncle, a friend, a sibling, brother, sister, coach, teacher, anyone involved in this earlier event. And just tell them, I don't like what you did. I don't condone what you did. I don't approve of it, but it's what happened. I understand you were doing the best you could with your limited awareness, your skills, and your lack of knowledge to meet some basic need that you had. And I'm willing to forgive you. It's time for me to let go so that I have all my energy available for me to create what I want. So go ahead and speak some words like that to anyone you need to forgive. And now fast forward yourself into the future. You want to start by saying goodbye to the younger you, that you're always available. All they need to do is ask you to come into their consciousness and you'll be there for them. And then fast forward yourself into the future to when you're 85 years old. You're wise, you're enlightened, you have an amazing amount of wisdom. And look back at yourself at the age you are now from this 85-year-old perspective. And what would the 85-year-old you tell your current self about what insight or blessing you can find in this event? What you might not have learned or experienced if you'd not had this experience? Any advice you have for yourself about this issue where you said you feel stuck? Any advice they might give you as you move forward? Go ahead and either say those words or imagine listening to those words, whichever works better for you. And now, having heard those words, come back to your current self, sitting in the chair or wherever you are, and just take a moment to reflect on the words you heard from your wise old self and the words you might have said to your younger you. And just take a moment to integrate all that. And then go back to your awareness of that shape or sensation that you felt in your body before, wherever that was located. And just notice if it's different, if it's changed at all. Sometimes it'll be totally dissolved, sometimes just lesser in intensity. And with your eyes still closed, wherever that sensation is or was, just imagine right now radiant golden and white light streaming into your body and filling that area where the sensation was with radiant white light, healing light. Very good. And then whenever you're ready, taking as long as you need, just gently open your eyes. And as soon as your eyes are open, you might want to just take 10 seconds and stretch your arms and legs. Just come back fully into your body. Take a few deep breaths. And then you want to find the worksheet where you can capture what your experience was. It'll look like this, session 2, Thursday, January 9. And just go ahead and write your answers to each of these questions as much as you can remember. The act of writing it down is really critical to the fullness of the experience of transformation. And we're going to have a little 10-minute countdown timer right now. Probably let this go for about 7 minutes, and then I'll ask anyone who's already finished you can write a little bit in the chat about what you experienced or experiencing, and give you another couple minutes for people who are more complete as they write or take longer to write. We'll pull a little music in the background as you're writing. If you're already finished writing, feel free to take a moment to share your experience in the chat. You'll see some people already doing that. Talk about where you went back to, or what happened, what limiting belief you took on, new belief, what your 85-year-old self tell you, what you're believing and feeling now, any part of that, just to be connected and to share what's going on for you. If you're not finished writing, keep writing. We'll go for another couple minutes. Then I'll share some tools with you, and then we'll be done. All right, so I'm back, and thank you for that, everybody. A lot of sharing going on in the chat. I can't respond to everything, but I will respond to some of the things on Facebook when we're done. As we move along here, if you want to keep posting in the chat how you're feeling now, or a couple of words to describe what happened for you, continue to do that, and people will be connected to you, and you'll share what's going on with you. So a number of you in the chat were talking about how You might feel a little bit confused. Maybe some feelings came up that are not quite resolved yet, or your 85-year-old self didn't have much wisdom to share with you. All of that happens. It's okay. Don't worry about it. This is not a process that is actually as lockstep as it might seem. Whenever you go into your own conscious work, it often takes you where it wants you to go, which is it has a greater wisdom than any single process might have. But what I would recommend, and several of you, is that if you have some feelings that are still there, or some confusion, or the limiting belief still feels strong, you can use EFT tapping. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. You'll notice the little diagram on the left side of the screen. That is a picture of where these 9 acupressure points are that you want to tap on to, as you think about the feeling. I'm not going to try to teach this here. You can go to YouTube and you can just type in how to use EFT tapping to accelerate healing. And you can add plus Jack Canfield if you want, or just go to my YouTube channel and type that in. And I teach you how to tap, and I take you through a tapping sequence. So you can tap along with me. There is a tapping app that you can buy at Amazon, not Amazon, but iTunes, at the App Store. And you know, you can, the Apple App Store, that's developed by Nick Nanton and his team, that you can tap along with that. So there's lots of places you can just find all kinds of videos on tapping. But those are ones I have. They'll also be posted on Facebook, so you can just go there and click on it. And so you just tap, like if you're feeling sad, or, you know, just tap on this feeling of sadness, and you tap on these various points as you focus on the feeling and repeat the phrase, the sadness, the sadness, the sadness, the sadness. And eventually, after 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds, it usually disappears. It's an astoundingly simple but powerful tool that everyone should be using to eliminate negative feelings of any kind. Also, limiting beliefs. You can actually lessen the power of a belief simply tapping on this belief: I'm unworthy, my feeling of unworthy, this belief I'm unworthy, this belief of unworthy, etc. So that's for you if you feel like there's still a little more work to do there. Also, if you're confused, you can tap on this feeling of confusion, this confusion, my confusion, etc. And the confusion can lift as well, and new clarity comes, because it takes you out of the back part of your brain, the amygdala, where you've got a lot of fear, and it kind of that fear hijacks the prefrontal cortex, which is where rational thinking and wisdom is. We see the third eye in the Hinduism, you know, in the yoga tradition, they talk about this chakra, the third eye. We can see wisdom. It's where the unicorn's horn comes in, because the unicorn is a symbol of spiritual awareness, spiritual awakening, and so forth. So anyway, that's available for you. Again, share your thoughts and epiphanies of UO in the Facebook chat. You can also go over to the Facebook group now if you want, or you can stick with us here. I would encourage you to stick with me for a few more minutes. And you can, there's the facebook.com/groups/breakfree2020. And just share again, you know, what you learn about yourself, what limiting belief, what's the new empowering belief, what your 85-year-old self tell you, what you're doing differently. It's very, very valuable to read what other people have shared as well. I have about 8 or 9 minutes here left, because I said it'd be a 75-minute call. I want to share just a little bit about goal setting and goal achievement, because as you begin to release these blocks, what happens is you have goals, you have these things you've been wanting to achieve. And if you understand goal setting clearly and apply some of the other techniques I'm going to share with you real quickly, you can release that blockage and start using these tools to actually manifest what it is you want. Unfortunately, most people in America, at least, and that's well the research I have on this one, only about 3% of high school students ever learn how to set a goal. Goal setting is critical for achievement, even if it's just, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to set goals, I just follow my inner guidance. But when you're following the inner guidance, if it says to go do something, you then have a goal of going to the store or writing the book or whatever it might be. So I would encourage you to use this. So a goal is something I want, which is measurable in time and space. So in your handout that you downloaded, hopefully, there's a place to write goals for each of your areas, and they want to be measurable. And the idea is how much by when. A couple examples: I'd like to increase my income. Would become, I will earn an annual income of $200,000 by 5 p.m. December 30th, 2020. Like to spend more time with my wife in the relationship area. It could become, I will take 2 weekend vacations and 1 10-day vacation with my wife by September 30th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Or I will take a 5-week course on communication skills, whatever it might be, but it has to be measurable by a certain date. I'm going to lose weight and get fit. Could become, I will weigh 140 pounds or 64 kilos or less and complete a 10K run by October 30th, 2020 at 9 p.m. Now, some interesting studies on goal setting. USA Today reported that 4% of people who did not write down their goals actually followed through on their goals. So writing them down has a huge impact. That same study showed that 44% of the people who wrote down their goals followed through on them. So that's an 11 times difference. That's huge. So basically, simply the act of writing the goal down. That's why we've given you the worksheets in the handout. Now, there's a woman named Dr. Gail Matthews at Dominican University up in Santa Cruz, California, who did a study. She divided about 250 people from around the world into 5 groups, and they were all professionals of different levels, different professions, different countries, different income levels. And one group was simply to have a goal but not write it down. What she found was that 43% of those people actually took action on their goals. The second group was to write them down, just the mere act of writing it down. And that increased by 17% to 60% of the people took action and achieved a lot of that part of their goals. The people that wrote written action plans, 50%. Now, I believe the reason that number went down there, they did the first 2 things and a third thing, is that sometimes we create plans, and because we have a plan, we often don't see other things emerging that are possibilities that if we followed our intuition, we'll be more successful. So have plans, but don't be wedded to them. Be open to other possibilities emerging. The fourth group had to do all of that and then commit to a friend. You had to tell a friend out loud what the goal was that you created. So declaring that goal to the world has a huge impact. And then the last group was to do all of that, but also have a weekly check-in with an accountability partner. During the chat, one person said, I just don't seem to take action on my goals. If you have an accountability partner, you call them, I like every day, and you commit to 5 actions you're going to do that day to achieve one of your goals. And then the next day you have to call and report, did you do it or not? And hopefully they're doing the same thing, so you're supporting each other. So that's a powerful, powerful tool, is having an accountability partner. So we know that these things increase the achievement of your goals by having them and writing them down, committing to a friend, and then having this accountability where you're taking action by 33%. That's worth doing, obviously, because the research backs all that up. There's hundreds of studies now. So you have this goal setting guide. I encourage you to use it. Now, the other thing you want to do is I call release the brakes by affirming and visualizing your dreams as already achieved. So an affirmation that you can use is, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now what? I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now earning $100,000 a year. I think I've got some examples here. Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy and grateful that I'm now earning a personal income of $100,000 a year. If you say that every day in the morning and then close your eyes and visualize a $100,000 lifestyle, and you do that every day in the morning, and again before you go to bed, your subconscious comes in and starts to actually manifest, come up with ideas, creative ideas. You feel more motivated in the morning, and you're activating the law of attraction, which will attract to you people, opportunities, and ideas that will actually help you achieve that goal. I'm feeling happy and having fun at my ideal weight of 131. It's, again, it's a weight loss goal you could use. I'm so happy and grateful I'm now driving my new Prius across the Trans-Canadian Highway. And you would affirm that, you would visualize that, you can put a picture up of it, you can put that on your mirror in your bathroom, on your refrigerator. But now you're surrounding yourself and you're changing your internal dialogue, because all these beliefs that have been running you are simply thoughts that you've been thinking over and over, either consciously or unconsciously. Now we're inputting new thoughts that are affirming what it is we want to experience. So using the power of visualization, quick story. I was down in Thailand. This guy, Andres Pira, hired me. He was homeless at the age of 19 in Phuket. Someone sent him the book, The Secret. He read it. He thought it was a bunch of BS. But after 3 days of living on the beach and not having a job, literally sleeping on towels on the beach, he decided to try the visualization technique. And within the next day, this guy delivered him a cup of coffee, which is what he had visualized. Then he visualized a meal that he hadn't had. He was eating ramen noodles. In 3 days, someone from Sweden recognized him, bought him a dinner. Then he visualized having a job. Within a week, he had a job. Then he visualized being a salesperson at that company. Then he visualized being a sales manager. Then he visualized building the houses they were selling. He ended up becoming a construction person with danger. He now has 19 companies. He's worth $3 billion. He's 35. So in 15 years, that's what the power of visualization did for him. So surround yourself with pictures of what you want, put them on your refrigerator, have them be on your screensaver, create a vision board. This is one of mine a few years ago. Pretty much everything on that board has come true, except for down in the right-hand corner. The one show I haven't been on other than Oprah, Montel, and Larry King was Ellen. And I've got someone working on that now. So these are the things that will come true for you if you visualize them. So you can have external pictures as well as internal pictures. One of the things we usually do at our Breakthrough to Success seminar, we have a vision board party where people can come and actually create vision boards with us and then take them home with them. And we use this vision board, how would I say this? This is a vision board that I would call it the upper middle class vision board. It's not like a ransom note you put on your refrigerator where you cut out words. It's much more high scale. And so vision boards are very, very powerful. I would encourage you to do that. Visualize your goals is already complete twice a day. We talked about that when you first get up, right before you go to bed. And it's critical. Feel the feelings you would feel if you'd already achieved that goal. The feelings have as much impact as the actual visualization. There's research now that shows when you intend something without the feeling, it doesn't happen as well. When you intend it with the feeling, it's very magical. There's a whole bunch of scientific research behind that, which I'm not going to take the time to share right now, but literally has to do with, you can actually change your DNA, what they call epigenetics, with visualization, with positive expectation and feelings of happiness and love and gratitude for having achieved it. So very, very powerful. Use the rule of 5. Do 5 things every day that will lead to the achievement of your breakthrough goal. Your breakthrough goal should be one goal in that area where you want to have a major breakthrough. And so you can set that goal and then do the visualization affirmation, and then 5 actions a day. And that's where your accountability partner comes in, because then they are going to make sure they hold you to that. And when you have your little call in the morning and say, did you do it or not? They're not going to listen to your excuses. They're simply going to say, are you willing to reconnect? So ask some friend, someone else that you know is committed to growth, to be your accountability partner. List your 5 action steps for the day. This is something we sell. It's a little post-it block. And if you do 5 actions a day for a year, that's 1,825 actions toward the achievement of your goal. It's simply a matter of doing it, persistence over time. Little tiny steps. It doesn't have to be huge, but over time, it achieves it. So we talked about what stops us from taking action is fear, limiting beliefs. Fear is often caused by our limiting beliefs. One of the things is feel your fear and do it anyway. Here you see Oprah at a Tony Robbins workshop, walking across burning coals. You see someone else, jumping out of a plane. I love the phrase, if you can't, you must. That's one way to get rid of it. Also, we talked about tapping, and that's another way to get rid of the fear. Talked about accountability partners. And I want you to commit to constant and never-ending improvement. Every day doing a little bit more to keep improving yourself. One of the ways to do that is to attend trainings, whether they're online like this or whether they're live. I would encourage you a couple times a year, get yourself in a room with other people. One of the powers of being in a training live, like we were today, is we know from the work of the law of attraction, there's a physicist on there who talked about the power of an intention is the square of the number of people holding the same intention at the same time. So today we had, several thousand people holding the same intention at the same time. So that becomes like, 2 million people or the 2 million units of intention, if you will. And so when you're in this room with the same people, all holding the same intention to get a breakthrough in whatever area we're focused on, that's so much more powerful than just kind of reading something on your own or watching a TED Talk on your own. Still do those things, but if you really want to amplify it, I would suggest you take a training. And I'll just very quickly talk about 2 things we have coming up. We're doing a Breakthrough to Success weekend, March 27th to 29th in Costa Mesa, California. That's in Orange County at the West and South Coast Plaza. And again in June on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. This is a 3-day training. You've been on the phone or on the internet with me now for about an hour and 15 minutes. Imagine 8 hours a day for 3 days in a row. What would happen for you in terms of breaking through blocks, learning how to manifest, learning how to use the tools that you may or may not be aware of, but you're not using, to create any result you want. We've had people go to millionaires, heal chronic illnesses, start new companies, create athletic success, whatever it might be. So these are just 2 options for you. If you want to come join us, we'd love to have you do that. Also, we have an online version. It's much less expensive. You do it on your own time. If you can't get to one of those trainings because you live in another country, it's too expensive to come. If you don't want to spend that kind of money, you can sign up for our Breakthrough to Success online. It's all the same material taught online in modules and units. And you can start today if you want. And you can do it at your own pace. Some people do the whole thing in a week. Other people do it, 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week. Take as long as you want to get through tapping your power, discovering your purpose, finding your dreams and goals, using the law of attraction, getting into action, developing success habits, and so forth. So if you want to take advantage of the online program today, we have a special offer. It's just $697 instead of our normal price, which is $1297, so it's almost half. We have an 8-pay plan of $97 a month, so we want to make this available to people. We don't want anyone not to be able to do this. And if you take action before January 29th, Patty Aubrey, who's the president of our company, is going to do 4 group coaching calls that will support you through that process. And that's $1,000 value right there. So it's a really good deal. If you want to take the live training, normally it's $1997, it's $1497. Plus, again, you're going to get the online course for free. You can start working on that right now. And you're going to get the 3 days live, plus the 4 coaching calls, plus $500 off your tuition. And we're going to have a networking Come As You'll Be party. We're going to do the vision board party. You have money, 100% money back guarantee. We never want to have you spend money and not get value from us. So there's really no risk other than your time and your commitment. So if you want to sign up for any of these, as I said, you can literally start tomorrow. Just go to trainwithjack.com and you can get more information there, and it will tell you how to register. And again, there's payment plans on all of that, so you can spread it out over time. I will tell you that doing it live or doing it online, they're both very valuable, and the transformations are incredible. You'll read about some of the transformations that people have had if you go to those, if you go to that website. I think we're basically done. We have a next call. It's going to be Monday, January 20th. So if you want to come back again and do it again for another area of your life, or if you want to tell your friends, we'd really appreciate that. If you enjoyed this training, tell friends and family, register for the next session. Again, they're free. We just want to make a contribution to you for all the, I just am committed to not having people suffer unnecessarily in the world. It'd be a crime if I had a map to a gold mine that had billions of dollars worth of gold to not tell you how to get there, or if I had a cure for cancer to not tell you about it. And so this is my commitment to make a difference through eliminating suffering by eliminating limiting beliefs and blocks that are keeping you from having what you want, and also teaching you the tools for how to get there. So we're going to leave the chat open for about another 10 or 15 minutes if you want to add to what's already on there, or if you want to go to Facebook and become part of that community. It's astounding to read the stories that people are posting in Facebook. It really inspires me and lets me know that the work's happening, and I just love the breakthroughs people are having. So do it for me, because I'd love to see what's going on. I'd appreciate that. But we'll leave the chat open as if you want to do it here for about 10 or 15 minutes more, and then we'll close the chat. So, and I'll be looking at your entries for the next 10 or 15 minutes. I'll respond to as many as I can. My staff are on, they'll respond. If you have any questions, you can ask them. They go by pretty fast, so I may not be able to get to everything that you're asking, but I will do my best to do that for the next 10 or 15 minutes. So thank you for joining us today. I'll go back a slide because I'll leave that up there for the next 10 or 15 minutes, and look forward to seeing you on January 20th. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. And I'm going to turn my attention over to the chat now. I'm going to mute myself out, and or maybe I'll leave it on. Maybe I'll say something as I read the chat. So hang in there. I might say something. We'll see what happens.